Hi, this is Carolyn Parrish at the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. You'll see here in front of me a personal watercraft, or more commonly known as a jet ski. And today we're going to talk to you about how these work, what you need to know when you're renting one, and some safety information when operating a jet ski. Here to help me today, I'll allow him to introduce himself. What's your name, sir?
Hey everybody, I'm Ronald Washington, Public Information Officer in Miami-Dade County.
Hi, Ron. Thanks so much for joining us and giving me a hand with this today. You'll see today Ron is not in his full uniform, but that's because we're going to talk jet skis and we're down here by the waterfront. So I'm pointing to the first thing that I think is important for people to know, and that is what?
The Florida registration numbers. So as you can see, they go from left to right, and they also have a decal with it. That way we can identify the boat and make sure that it's currently registered.
Yep. And so that's important, folks. Just like a boat, you need to have jet skis registered if you're going to operate them here on the waterways in Florida. So Ron, tell me a few things about jet skis and how they operate and what you should look for here when you come to a livery. What should people expect to hear?
So jet skis are highly maneuverable, powerful machines. They're personal watercraft. Usually they can't hold more than 3 people. This one has rear view mirrors, and it's got a compartment in the front for the fire extinguisher. You always want to make sure at a minimum the jet skis have a fire extinguisher, a life jacket, and a sound producing device.
So you've given us 3 tips: life jacket, fire extinguisher, sound producing device. Now, if somebody just comes, maybe they're not familiar with jet ski operation, maybe they're visiting here, or maybe they're even a local resident in the state, and they go to rent one of these things. Talk to me a little bit about that and what we're looking at. What should somebody expect when they rent a jet ski here in the state?
So before you even leave your house, the great thing to do is go online and take a boating safety education course. You're visiting from out of town, it's a 25-question quiz that just runs you through what to expect before you get on one of these things.
Awesome. And so we're here today in South Florida. If you're just joining us, you're going to see the beautiful water in the background, Officer Washington. We got a couple jet skis here. We're actually at a livery. So I'm going to pan over real quick, and I'm just going to show you. This is just an example of a livery that you may see here in the state of Florida. Oftentimes they operate on beach sides like this. And when somebody comes to the livery, what happens? They just go, and what should they expect to experience when they go to rent a jet ski here?
So if you go to a legitimate rental company, you should expect them to have a livery operator who greets you at the door. There should be a placard that has boating safety information. And if it's a jet ski rental livery, they should make sure that you've taken that course. So you're going to have to show proof that you've completed the course successfully. If you haven't done it at home, then you can take it on site at the facility. And then one of the instructors will guide you to where you can operate the jet ski. They'll show you how far to go, what areas to avoid. And the number one thing is they make sure that they give you working, appropriate safety equipment.
I think you just shared a great tip there, Ron, that people can take this education course that's required beforehand. It'll save them some time at the livery. Remember to bring proof of taking that course with you. Or if you don't have that availability to take the course in advance, be sure you take it here. Take it at the livery rental. It is required for them to provide that information to you. As Ron mentioned, I'm just going to pan over and take a look at this machine here. This is something that's pretty popular. This specific model, as you see, has enough room for 2 seats. So, Ron, you talked about liveries, and it's important that you use somebody that's a licensed facility, right?
Yes.
Do folks try to rent these things?
Yeah, well, exactly. We'll have people, private individuals, who own these things personally, and in order to make some money off of them while they're not using it themselves, they'll advertise the service on Craigslist, Facebook, and people who don't know any better visiting, they will just pay whatever fee it is to jump on the jet ski. But usually those personal individuals don't have the required paperwork and all the safety protocol that we enforce when looking at delivery.
Right. And that's great information because remember, folks, we are talking about some legal issues here with what's required for people to rent these things out, and then what's required for you to operate them. So if you don't know and you want to get more familiar, you can always go to our website, myfwc.com/boating, and then you'll look for personal watercraft and livery rules and regulations, and you guys can brush up on those at your own convenience.
So as you can see from that placard, if the jet ski capsizes or turns over, then don't panic, but follow what you see here. You have to lean over, grab onto the bar, and pull in the direction of that arrow and climb back on from behind as you would if you fell off.
So talk to me about some of the very specific things related to operating a PWC, life jack being one of them.
Well, the first thing you should do before you climb aboard this machine is to put the right size life jacket on you. This one says it's an adult universal life jacket. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on properly.
And while Ron's getting that on, I will tell you, I spend a little bit of time riding with law enforcement in my position here at FWC. And we see folks sometimes that don't necessarily have the proper life jacket on. And by that, I mean proper fit, proper design. For jet skis and PWCs in specific, you're required to have this type of life jacket, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
This is a type 2 life jacket, I believe. And whenever you're riding a jet ski, unlike other watercraft, you must have this on at all times.
Right. And so I know that we talk a lot about giving people different types of options for different types of life jackets. Some of those ones that are self-inflatable or some of the ones that are fanny pack by design, those are not allowed to be used on a jet ski, correct?
Correct. Only this one, because if you fall in the water, which is common when riding these watercraft, you'll stay afloat. Whether or not you're conscious, your head will stay above water and it'll be easier for rescuers to come find you.
So proper fit is important.
Exactly. So it doesn't come off. And definitely have all 3 buckles. And if there's a zipper, zipper it up.
Right. You actually have to have the zipper required to consider it, or closed rather, to consider it fully fitted and secure.
Correct.
All right, so Ron's going to give us a little life jacket demo here, some of the things he's talking about. I'm going to follow him here into the water just a little bit. Bear with us. All right, so specifically what we want to talk about, proper fit, like we were just discussing. And Ron's going to do a little fall into the water for me and talk to me about buoyancy and keeping his head afloat.
So with no effort, you can see I'm able to keep my head above water. I can breathe. And if I'm in distress, somebody should be able to locate me in this position.
And so what happens, folks, as Ron gets back up and situated here, is when you don't wear, and I'm going to hand this to you, Ron, put this over you and show the difference on the size. So he's got a different size life jacket here. And we want to talk a little bit about the difference of space. You can see that Ron's wearing one that's fitted to him, but then when he puts this larger size life jacket over him, he's got a lot of space gapping. It's not buckling correctly. And what can happen if somebody's not wearing a properly fitted life jacket?
Well, what we tend to see is the life jacket will ride high and it might slip off, and it doesn't give you the proper buoyancy that you should expect from the correct life jacket.
Right. And buoyancy is important, as Ron advised. It keeps your head afloat. It keeps your body on top of the water. In the event of an emergency, an incident where you end up in the water, that life jacket can help us find you when it comes to a rescue operation.
And one thing I'd like you to just point out
Yes.
is this is U.S. Coast Guard approved. If it doesn't say it's U.S. Coast Guard approved, then you're not wearing the right life jacket and find a new one. And it's type 3.
Okay, so that's a type 3. So there's different examples. Again, when it comes to PWC and jet ski operation, like these in the foreground, be sure that you're getting the right life jacket, that it's worn at all times, and that it's properly fitted, because that's going to be important. So we're going to come out of the water before we wrap this up. And Ron, talk to me about how one of these things turns on. What do you use? And there's some specific information about this specific key setup that we want to be sure to share.
So most jet skis use a kill switch lanyard, and they'll attach it to the life jacket itself. And the point of this is, it's in the name, kill switch. So if you fall off and this comes out of the ignition, the jet ski shuts off completely, and it's not ghost riding. Proper way to attach this to your jet ski is like this. When you feel that click, it's on there securely. And then I take the other end and I clip it securely onto my vest.
And that's required on a jet ski, correct? To have that lanyard and that kill switch?
Correct. If you're seen with this, well, it won't operate with this part not connected, but if this is not on your wrist or on your life jacket and it's just hanging loosely, you will get pulled over for your safety.
Right. Absolutely. And you mentioned the term ghost riding. So for our viewers, tell me what you mean by that.
Well, if the throttle doesn't shut off, then the jet ski, they don't have brakes like vehicles, so it'll continue to cruise and potentially endanger property or a person around.
Right. All important information. And I'll tell you, you might notice, folks, we're here. It's a beautiful sunny day here in South Florida. So if somebody wants to rent a jet ski, when can they rent them? Can they rent them 24 hours a day? How does that work? Is there anything that any laws about that?
Yeah, so jet skis are only to be used 30 minutes before sunrise and 30 minutes after sunset. It cannot be on the water after that time window. So as long as you have some light out, you should be good to go. But check the time.
Yep, always check the time. That's an important, and that's really a safety feature. These machines are not set up like a regular vessel. You'll see that they don't have navigational lights and bow lights and stern lights. So there are laws in place about when it's legal to operate. And again, if you go to a properly licensed livery, they're going to know that, and they're going to tell you exactly what time you need to go out and come back. So one more thing before we wrap up, Ron. And we talked about, when people come over to the beach. So we happen to be here at one of the beaches in the state parks here in Broward County. And I see some orange buoys in the distance. They're on the left side of the screen there. So these folks are doing what with the orange buoys?
So those buoys are markers to let you know where safe water is to pass away from other swimmers. And that's just a designated zone to get far out enough where you can operate this in careful regard for the safety of everybody around you.
Good. And like I said, we're here at one of the beaches that are along the state parks. You can see some folks here enjoying the beautiful water. So it's important when you're operating a PWC or jet ski that you stay out of the designated public swim areas, correct?
Correct.
Right. And if you see in the distance, I'm going to pan over here way on the right side of my screen. You may not be able to see it, but there's a small swim buoy there in the distance. And so that marks that appropriate distance off the public beach that you need to stay away from for this specific area when you're operating a jet ski. So that's another thing that you should ask if you're not told when you rent a jet ski. Where can I go? What time do I have to be back? Make sure you have all your required safety equipment, your fire extinguisher, your whistle.
And double check it yourself. There's a fuel gauge on here just like a vehicle. You want to make sure you have at least half a tank in order so you don't get stranded out there. If they say the fire extinguisher is good, check it yourself, because if you get pulled over, you're responsible for any safety violations, not the livery. Doesn't hurt to check.
Yes, that's a great tip too, folks. Be sure that you're checking. It's about your safety. And if you experience an issue where you're broke down out there, you can always call FWC. We have our Wildlife Alert Hotline. It's toll free, 888-404-3922. We can get you some assistance. And the livery should give you some information on that also, maybe their contact information or areas or businesses in the area rather that can assist you.
All right, when you're getting on board the jet ski, make sure it's off and you want to board from this backside.
And you got your life jacket on. He's got his lanyard. And here we go. So what Ron is demonstrating here is powering through a turn. It's important when operating a jet ski that you apply the throttle completely through the turn. If not, you won't be able to complete the turn of the jet ski. So what Ron's demonstrating here is how to get back on the jet ski in the event that you fall off into the water. If you have your key attached and the lanyard attached properly to the jet ski automatically shuts off. So he's showing you that example. And then he's going to show you, like we talked about, that you always have to board the jet ski from behind. There's a handle on the seat, there's a rubberized platform, and you simply pull your body up onto the jet ski, get situated, hook up your key and attach your lanyard, and then you are ready to get started again on the jet ski.
If you're new to operating a jet ski, always ride within your limits and never operate while under the influence of any alcohol or controlled substances.
And Ron, what do you mean ride within your limits? What are you talking about?
Don't try any stunts that you've seen on TV, like wake jumping or riding it with one hand or no hands. Make sure that you stay in control. That way you can make it back safely and you don't damage the rented jet ski.
Perfect. And at the end of the day, we want you to be having fun, have a great experience, but like Ron just said, get back to the shore safely. So great job bringing that jet ski up onto the beach, Ron. You know, it's something that I see all the time is people like to stop at sandbars, they stop at beaches. What's important about bringing this on the beach and then taking it back in the water?
Well, respect the boundaries of the people around you. So you know how I kept a nice distance away from the other jet skis and away from the people on the beach. As long as you do that and you're able to safely stop the jet ski, turn it off, you're renting, check in with the instructor, make sure everything you're doing is based off of their guidelines and direction.
And if somebody stops, say at a sandbar or the beach, and they want to get back on this thing, can they just start it right here on the beach like this, or?
Absolutely not. So the jet ski will suck in the sand rather than the water, and motors can't run on sand, so you'd be stuck.
And that's a good tip, folks. And we showed you a little bit about getting on this thing, especially if you fall off, and when we load it up before to get ready to go. So anything else you think we can talk to the folks about today, Ron?
Be sure to bring an ID or Florida driver's license that shows your age, because if you're under the age of 14, you cannot operate a jet ski on Florida waterways. And if you're born after January 1st, 1988, you must have that boater safety education requirement. Go out there, pay attention to what they tell you because it's for your safety, and go out there and have fun. Enjoy Florida's beautiful waterways.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Are you interested in becoming a livery operator and having your own business? Well, our FWC Boating and Waterways section would love to help you get started.